We're here because free speech is under attack. We're here because people are being convinced that socialism works. We're here because people are being judged guilty until proven innocent. We are fighting back with facts. This is not a safe zone, so buckle up, Buttercup. This is the raw, naked truth.
Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin. Last week we talked about how the Democratic Party has lost touch with America. This weekend, Joe Manchin showed that they've also lost touch with their own members. Ding dong, the bill is dead. With the no heard round the world, Joe Manchin has effectively killed the Build Back Better bill, continuing the worst first year for a president since William Henry Harrison died 1 month into his term. Democrats have been throwing a fit, saying they were blindsided and that Manchin went back on his word. Not only is this disingenuous, it's downright delusional. Manchin made it clear even before the bill passed the House that he would not support any bill that cost more than $1.5 trillion. The Democrats tried to put fiscal tricks into the bill, like only paying for 1 to 3 years of 10-year programs, knowing full well that these programs would not end. Even with the tricks, the bill cost $1.75 trillion. The Bipartisan Congressional Budget Office put the real cost at over $3 trillion over what the increased taxes would collect. That means it would add over $3 trillion to the deficit. With that fact alone, the Democrats should have expected this. Just as important, they have seemed to have forgotten that Joe Manchin represents West Virginia, not Washington, D.C. The economy of West Virginia relies on the coal industry for jobs. This bill would destroy those jobs. Bernie Sanders, the idiot that he is, stated that he wants the bill to come to the floor so Joe Manchin has to explain to the people of West Virginia why he voted against it. He's voted against it because it's bad for West Virginia. Sanders does not seem to understand that the people of West Virginia don't care why Manchin votes against the bill as long as he does. The polls in West Virginia are very clear. They have shown that 75% of West Virginia residents oppose the Build Back Better bill. And Joe Manchin has a 65% approval rating in West Virginia. Biden, by contrast, has a 38% approval rating and lost West Virginia in 2020 by 39 points. I think it's also important to remind people that Bernie Sanders is not a Democrat. He's an independent socialist. He only joins the Democratic Party when he wants to run for president. Jen Psaki continued this insanity with the following statement, quote, Senator Manchin's comments this morning on Fox are at odds with his discussions this week with the president, with White House staff, and with his own public utterances. Weeks ago, Senator Manchin committed to the president at his home in Washington to support the Build Back Better framework that the president then subsequently announced. Senator Manchin pledged repeatedly to negotiate on finalizing that framework in good faith. Now, Psaki wouldn't know the truth if it bit her in the ass. Manchin has not reversed his decision. He has been clear on his position the entire time. He may have agreed to a framework, but the devil is in the details, and those details kept pushing up inflation and pushing up the cost of the bill. That's what he is voting no on. He's been very clear about this for the entire time this bill has been debated. Now, while the White House may have been willing to negotiate on that framework, the Squad and the Progressive Caucus have made it clear that they're not. In order to get the bill small enough to get Manchin's approval, changes would have to be made that the progressives have stated they would never vote for. Ilhan Omar went on a tirade against Manchin, and AOC has said they knew this would happen if they decoupled the bill from the infrastructure bill. Yes, they knew it would happen. The Build Back Better bill is so disastrous that the only way they could get it passed was to tie it to a bill that was needed. But if they knew this would happen, why are they acting so surprised? Clearly, they're not surprised, and the Democratic temper tantrum is for show. The administration has been lying about this bill from day one. Tossing this much money into the economy will raise inflation even higher than it is. The administration keeps saying that 17 Nobel Prize-winning economists say this bill is good for the economy. They never name those economists. Why don't they name them? Well, that claim of support is based on a single letter that the 17 economists signed. Now, with a little investigation, and you can find this with a simple Google search, you'll find that the letter was penned and signed by Janet Yellen's husband and his colleagues. Not exactly impartial supporters. Now, on top of that, they keep saying the bill is paid for, the bill is paid for. The bill has never been fully paid for. It's never going to be fully paid for. The Congressional Budget Office has said it's not paid for. If that wasn't enough reason for Joe Manchin to vote no on this, most of what is in the bill has been kept from the American public. But one thing they have released is support for child care. With the child care provision, however, the administration and the progressives have only been telling half the story. It has now been reported that faith-based daycare facilities, that is, any child care facility run by a church, temple, or other religious organization, are specifically excluded from receiving funding from this bill. Now, these daycare centers are very often the lowest cost providers and the only way people can afford childcare. Additionally, the bill requires college degrees and additional certifications for any worker in childcare facilities. Now, that means that it's going to cost more to get your degree, your certification in order to work there, which is going to boost what they have to be paid in salary, which is going to boost the cost of childcare. So both of these situations raise the cost of childcare. Even with the subsidies in the bill, childcare becomes less affordable. This is the same thing that happened when the Obama administration pushed forth the Affordable Care Act. Despite the name of that bill, very little care became affordable. Now, increased government spending always increases inflation. This is simply a fact. You can look it up historically. The Democrats were warned about this earlier in the year when they pushed through the COVID relief bill. They ignored those warnings, and we're seeing the result now with skyrocketing inflation. The Wall Street Journal has pointed out that Manchin's no gives Biden the opportunity to reset and change direction on his disastrous first year. If he moves closer to the center and works with his colleagues across the aisle, he could save the Democrats from being decimated in the 2022 midterm elections. Of course, outside the administration, Democrats don't seem to want to really help him on this. Chuck Schumer has vowed to bring the Build Back Better bill to the floor for a vote next year, and he has said they will keep bringing it to the floor until they can pass something. They seem to think bullying Joe Manchin is going to get him to change his mind. The only thing that's going to change Manchin's mind is shrinking the bill. And the progressives have said they will not vote for a smaller bill. The Democrats really need to remember that Joe Manchin is a Democrat, and he's a Democrat in the tradition of John F. Kennedy and Bill Clinton. Bernie Sanders, who's the primary mover behind this bill, is not a Democrat. He's a self-described socialist. So why would the Democratic Party put their weight behind an independent socialist rather than one of their own? They need to do what's right with for America and just ditch this monstrosity of a bill. The Democrats did not have a mandate in 2020. They had a minimal majority in the House and a split Senate. The progressives overplayed their hand, and it looks like they're going to lose, and potentially lose very big. That's the raw naked truth. You can catch each episode of The Raw Naked Truth at xvadio.com/podcasts. You can also find us on the Apple Podcast Store, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Audible, Amazon Music, and wherever you find podcasts. We'll see you next time.